Shalom. Call hello Yahawashi Bahashim Qadash. The honors are to the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered, hopefully elect, that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird. That are scattered among the heathen. To the Yahawah that are listening and learning. To you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago. I'm going to open with scripture. This is 2nd Ezra 6 and 27. And it reads, "For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. And as for faith, it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which have been so long without fruit, shall be declared." And the truth is being declared in the earth. The vibration of the truth is moving through the earth, and that's what's causing, and it's causing the curses to fall upon Edom, and this controversy of Zion, this fight, this debate over who the Israelites are, which should make all you people in all these other religions think. All right, they didn't put the Nation of Islam on TV. They didn't put the 5%ers on TV. They didn't put Kemet on TV. What are they? They don't have campaigns coming against Kemet. They don't have campaigns coming against Islam. The campaigns are coming against the Israelites because that's the one thing that they don't want you to be, which is exactly who and what you are. And I'm talking about so-called Negroes in America, so-called Native Americans, and the so-called Latinos, because you got people out here that are still pushing that black-only doctrine. Which, number one, there's no such thing as black people. Number two, there's actually more biblical evidence that the natives fit the curses and the historical proof of the relics that was found among them. It was more found among the natives than it was among the Negroes, so-called. And it wasn't until the men of the Great Millstone brought that out, because, we were the main people on the internet. They brought all that evidence out, but you know what, that's another lesson for another time. I don't want to go off into that because that wasn't what this lesson was to be about. So let me get back on course. Basically, this lesson is just to prove that Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, talking about the so-called Negroes, were in Rome, were in Greece. So when they show you all these movies up to date, you notice that they're putting more and more colored people, so-called, in these movies, even in the Renaissance period. And then, as a matter of fact, the book that's lying down renders the evidence of that. But what they're trying to do is control the narrative. You see, because clearly destroying the nose off this statue couldn't hide this so-called Negroid feature. So what they did was when they write into the book, as you read it, let me just read some of it. It says, "It is quite clear that the classical word came to know blacks by the way of the Nile Valley. The evidence set forth in the preceding chapters is abundant proof of this." And this is them trying to control the narrative. All right. We cannot, however, reject the prior Punic, later Roman Africa may have had a direct knowledge of the black world, knowledge which is in of course time could have spread throughout the Roman Empire. For this reason, it seems appropriate to devote the special study of representation of black in the art of ancient North Africa after evaluating as far as possible the likelihood of the contact between the Lipko-Punic and later the Lipko-Roman world and the world of blacks. All right. So we read in the last, I don't know if it was in the last one or the one before. Actually, it was probably the one before that. I read the definition of Ham from the Young's Dictionary Bible. And there is a separation between the dark races, which are really brown, different shades of brown. As you can see the images of the men on the book, they're brown. Their skin is not black. No one's skin is black. All right. That shadow in the picture in front of you is black at the bottom. No one's skin is that color. People are different shades of brown and people are different shades of red. So all they're trying to do here is they're trying to make these black people, these so-called black people that are in this Roman and Greek society at this time, that this book reveals the images of their presence. So they can't deny that. But what they're trying to do is make them African. But let's go to the Bible. All right. Because what we're telling you is that was the, and not to say that there weren't some Africans there. All right. But the Bible clearly lets you know that the men of the Lord were men of color, mostly dark brown. All right. This is Acts 13 and 1. So we're talking about Jews here. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which the Romans ignorantly called the Jews because they couldn't discern the difference between a Levite, between a Benjamite, and between a Judite. So they referred to them all as Jews because it was the kingdom of Judah. So they just shortened it up, and that's where that term Jew comes from. Jew is just a byword out of Judah. All right. But this is Acts 13 and 1, and it reads, "Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Niger, and Lucius of Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Tetrarch and Saul." All right. So the disciples, the men of the Lord, were referred to as Niger. And actually, I've done this before. This is more so for what is a review for the people who know this truth, and then for you new watchers, that you may learn. So I'm gonna grab this dictionary behind me. This is the Winston Simplified Dictionary Encyclopedic Edition, 1933. Gonna bring it into the frame. Call this Exhibit B. All right. The Winston Simplified Dictionary Encyclopedic Edition, 1933. All right. And we're going to look up the word nigger. And I'm going to read it through the through the camera lens so that all may see. And so that you can see the phonetic spelling and pronunciation of the word nigger. All right. And the different spellings of it. And how it's the very word that's in the Bible, because people will say Niger or Niger, and it's not. It's actually pronounced nigger, and I'm about to prove it. All right. Let's bring that into focus. All right. Let's read it through the camera. It says nigger, N-I-G-G-E-R. And we'll look at the pronunciation, N-I-G-E-R, same as in the Bible. All right. It says a Negro, dark-skinned one. A Negro, now usually a contemptuous or vulgar term. Any dark-skinned persons prevailing among or characteristic of American Negroes. All right, so it says now it's a vulgar term, because it wasn't a vulgar term in times past. It was just simply, a description, someone who was dark skinned, so that you knew that it was talking about someone who was really dark, who was brown. All right, not light brown, tan, or, you know, light skin, yellow, which all those are derivatives of brown, but dark brown, like the images you see before you. That's straight out the Bible, and that's straight out of the dictionary. Hence the reason why this definition is no longer in dictionary modern day. So, you know, the new books have all been revised, and revised are just basically lies. When they revise a book, that's because they're trying to hide information. All right. So I'm going to turn the page. All right. And show you something, because what brought this on? I was planning on doing this anyway, but I was watching. I was on Netflix and, you know, looking for something to watch, and I started watching old episodes of Spartacus, and got to the portion of the gladiators, and even in Spartacus, the majority of the gladiators and the Roman soldiers, you know, were Edomites. Well, what you're looking at right here before your face is a mosaic of gladiatorial games, and let's see if I can, if you can see them right there at the top. Those are all Negroes. Every one of them. The ones that are being given unto the beast, that are chained up, and the ones that are fighting the beast, and the ones that are in the middle. All right. There's a larger image of this further back in the book. But those are all so-called Negroes in the arenas. The same way that it's so-called Negroes in the arenas today. All right. Because what would sports be here in America without the presence of the American Negro, so-called, which is the Hebrew Israelites? So when you watch that movie, Gladiator, you know, when we tell you that the Negroes rose up and took over Rome, that is exactly what's happened, because not only were they the gladiators, but they were also the citizens and citizen soldiers, like Cornelius. And in the midst of all this, the Israelites woke up to their heritage. All right, we can go into the history of Nero and how he set up and burned down and did terrorist type attacks against Rome and against his own people, and then blamed it on the very said people that are on the, you know, that you're looking at right now. He blamed it on them. He tried to make them the reason for it. And there's nothing new under the sun, as King Solomon said. All right, there is nothing new under the sun whatsoever. But let's get a scripture as to why and what was going on at that time. Because they, in that book on the prior page, they tried to say that, you know, the Negroes migrated into North Africa. No, they look, when I was watching that Spartacus, one of the places where they were taking place was Cappadocia. That's also a place where a lot of the Jews were, and that they were returning to. And that was in that, you know, the island of Crete. That was actually Asia Minor. And now they claim it as, because that's just above Syria and Iraq. All right. And that was called Asia Minor. It wasn't called Europe, as it's kind of looked at as being Europe today. It wasn't called that. That portion of land there, that landmass where it's set, you know. But let's get a scripture. Acts, I believe it's Acts 18:1, if I'm not mistaken. Because you're looking at Jews, man. All right. Yeah, this is Acts 18:1. And it says, after these things, Paul departed from Athens and came unto Corinth, and found a certain Jew named Aquila. So he had a Greek name, and they were going back and forth from Greek cities. All right. Born of Pontus, lately come from Italy, and his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome, and came unto them. And then when you look into the history behind that, Claudius had all the Jews removed from Rome because of aggressive street teaching. And what were they teaching? They were teaching that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. All right. And by teaching the kingdom of heaven is at hand, what that meant was they were telling that people who were all Hellenized, like we're looking at the ones here, to come back to the law, statutes, and commandments, to come back to the Bible, to come back to our way of life, to come back to our heritage. Same thing that's going on now. And now what are they doing? The powers that be, just like Claudius, are slowly but surely fabricating information and a campaign against us simply for preaching that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And that's what it is. Okay? So, this lesson could just go on and on and on, but I'm not going to stretch it out because there's other more images in this book that I'm just going to go into and continue to do these strategic hits like this. This is guerrilla warfare, guerrilla tactics with the scriptures, hitting all the points which that Esau Edom has lied about to prove that he's a liar and to prove that he is not a Jew, he is not an Israelite, and that they are indeed Edom Idumea. Who, matter of fact, let's get that scripture closed with that. Because this is where we are now. Because, you know, in Jeremiah, it says that the Israelites would be discontinued from their heritage, and that another people would claim it, and that Idumea would assign the land of Israel into their own hands. And believe this. It's either Isaiah 35 or maybe it's Ezekiel. Yes, it's Ezekiel 36 and 5, and it reads, "Therefore thus saith Yahawah power, surely in the fire of my jealousy I have spoken against the residue of the heathen and against all Idumea." This is a future prophecy which has come to pass. And it says, "which have appointed my land into their possession." Who's in the land of Israel? Idumeans. The Bible said the Idumeans would appoint the land of Israel into their hands. All right? "And with all the joy of their heart and despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey." So Israel was casted out for a prey, and now the Idumeans have appointed it into their hands. And then that prophecy goes further in Joel. It tells you that they would part the land. And it is parted. It's parted between Ishmael and Edom, and neither one of them belong there. So with that, you know, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahawah by Hashem, by Hashem, Qadash, YAHAWADAH, Shalom.